The smell of roasted turkey filled Mom's dining room, but the warmth stopped there. I sat at the far end of the table, the spot they always saved for me, closest to the kitchen, farthest from the conversation that mattered. "Daniel, pass the rolls," my brother Marcus said without looking at me. He was holding court at the other end, his wife Jennifer perched beside him like a crown jewel, their matching Rolex watches catching the chandelier light with every gesture. I passed the basket. Marcus didn't say thank you. "So Marcus was telling us about the Singapore deal," Mom said, beaming at her golden child. $12 million in revenue for his division this quarter alone. 14 actually, Marcus corrected, his voice carrying that practiced modality of false humility. "But who's counting?" Everyone laughed. My sister Rebecca raised her wine glass. To Marcus, the family's real success story. They clinked glasses. Mine sat untouched. "Daniel," Jennifer said, her tone dripping with manufactured sweetness, "are you still at that office job downtown? What was it again? Administrative something?" "I work in corporate operations," I said quietly. Marcus snorted. "Corporate operations. That's a fancy way of saying you answer phones and make copies." "Marcus," Dad said half-heartedly, but he was smiling. "What?" "I'm just saying we can't all be executives. Someone has to do the grunt work." Marcus leaned back, his chair creaking under his designer suit. "How much are they paying you now? 40,000? 45. Something like that," I said. Rebecca jumped in, unable to resist. "I make that in bonuses alone. But Daniel, really, there's no shame in it. Administrative work is steady. You'll never get rich, but at least you won't get fired." "Exactly," Mom said, reaching over to pat my hand. "We're proud of you for finding something stable. Not everyone can be a high achiever like Marcus and Rebecca." I took a bite of turkey. Tasted like cardboard. "Remember when Daniel used to talk about running a company?" Marcus said, shaking his head. "God, we were so worried he'd actually try it. Thank goodness he landed that office gig instead." "He would have bankrupted himself in 6 months," Jennifer agreed. "Some people aren't cut out for leadership." My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. "The thing about real success," Marcus continued, warming to his favorite subject, "is that it requires vision, strategic thinking, the ability to make decisions that affect thousands of people." He pointed his fork at me. "No offense, Daniel, but answering phones doesn't exactly develop those skills." "Marcus closed 3 international deals this year," Dad said proudly. 3. "And Rebecca just made junior partner at her firm." "Thank you, Daddy," Rebecca said, preening. My phone buzzed again. Then again. "You gonna get that?" Marcus asked, annoyed. "Or is your boss calling to ask where you filed the expense reports?" More laughter. I pulled out my phone and glanced at the screen. 7 missed calls. 12 text messages. All marked urgent. "Sorry," I said, standing. "I need to take this." "See? Can't even enjoy Christmas dinner without work calling," Marcus said to the table. "That's the problem with low-level positions. No boundaries. They own you." I walked into the kitchen, pressing the phone to my ear. "What's happening?" "Mr. Chin, thank God." It was Patricia, my executive assistant, and her voice was tight with panic. "We have a level 5 crisis. The entire European division is threatening to walk. All 50 executives. They're demanding your immediate decision on the restructuring, and they won't wait. They said if they don't hear from you in the next 30 minutes, they're resigning en masse and taking their teams to TechCorp." My stomach dropped. How did this escalate so fast? The leaked memo. Someone sent the preliminary restructuring plans to the division heads before you approved them. Now they think they're all being downsized. It's chaos. The board is convening an emergency session. They need you here now. I looked through the doorway at my family, still laughing and eating, completely unaware. "I'm 40 minutes away. Sir, we have 50 C-level executives ready to resign. That's $2 billion in annual revenue walking out the door. The board is preparing to hold the emergency session by video conference if necessary, but they're insisting only you can authorize the final decision. No one else has the authority." Through the doorway I heard Marcus's voice. "Probably got called in for overtime. That's what happens when you're hourly." More laughter. "Bring the board here," I said quietly. "Sir." "My mother's address. I'll text it to you. Full emergency board session video conference setup. Everything." We'll do it here. Mr. Chin, are you certain? 30 minutes, Patricia. Make it happen. I hung up and returned to the table. Everyone was deep in conversation except Jennifer, who gave me a pitying look. Everything okay? She asked, loud enough for the table to hear. Did they need you to come in and restock the printer paper? Something like that, I said, sitting down. Marcus was in the middle of a story about firing someone. So I called him into my office. I have a corner office now, Dad, did I mention that? And I said, your performance is unacceptable. Just like that. Direct. That's what leadership looks like. Wow, Mom breathed. That must have been so hard. It's the burden of authority, Marcus said solemnly. Making the tough calls. That's why they pay me the big bucks. He glanced at me. Daniel wouldn't understand. When you're at the bottom, you don't have to make decisions. You just do what you're told. Must be nice, Rebecca added. No responsibility. Just punch in, answer phones, punch out. My phone buzzed. Patricia, 15 minutes out. Setting up in driveway. You know what Daniel's problem is? Marcus said, pouring himself more wine. No ambition. He's comfortable being mediocre. That's not fair, Dad said, but his tone suggested he agreed. It's true though, Jennifer said. Some people are leaders and some people are followers. There's no shame in being a follower, Daniel. The world needs worker bees. Exactly, Marcus said. I mean, look at us. Rebecca's a junior partner. I'm a senior VP. And Daniel answers phones. It's just the way things shook out. Rebecca leaned forward, her expression concerned. Daniel, have you thought about going back to school? Maybe getting an MBA? You're not getting any younger, and if you want to move up from administrative work, you'll need credentials. I'm fine where I am, I said. See? No ambition, Marcus said, spreading his hands. He's given up. My phone buzzed again. Patricia, arriving now. I mean, it's embarrassing sometimes, Rebecca said, her voice dropping to a stage whisper. When people ask what my brother does and I have to say he's an office assistant. I usually just say he works in corporate and leave it vague. Smart, Jennifer agreed. No need to advertise it. The doorbell rang. I'll get it, I said, standing. It's probably carolers, Mom said. Give them $20, Daniel. I opened the front door. Patricia stood there in a business suit, carrying 2 laptops and a briefcase. Behind her, James Chin, no relation, from our legal team, was unloading equipment from a black SUV. 3 more SUVs were pulling up. Where do you want us to set up, Mr. Chin? Patricia asked. Living room, I said quietly. And Patricia? The family doesn't know. Her eyes widened slightly, but she nodded. Understood, sir. I returned to the dining room. Mom, I need to use the living room for a work call. It's urgent. Marcus rolled his eyes. On Christmas? What kind of slave driver operation are you working for? The demanding kind, I said. Well, make it quick, Mom said. We haven't even had dessert yet. I walked into the living room. Patricia and her team were already setting up a massive screen, multiple laptops, and a full conference camera system. The board secretary, Michael, was testing connections. Our chief legal counsel was reviewing documents on his tablet. Status? I asked quietly. We have 48 of 50 executives on standby, Patricia said, her voice low. The 2 holdouts are in transit but will join by phone. The board is connecting now. Mr. Westfield wants to speak with you first. The screen flickered to life. Richard Westfield, chairman of our board of directors, appeared, his face grave. Behind him, I could see other board members taking their seats. Daniel, he said, this is a disaster. If we lose the European division, we're looking at a 40% drop in quarterly revenue. The stockholders will cruciate us. I understand, Richard. Do you have a solution? I'm working on it. Work faster. We have 20 minutes before those executives make their decision final. From the dining room, I heard Marcus's voice. He's probably on a call with his supervisor, getting chewed out for something. Laughter. Patricia handed me a tablet. The revised restructuring plan, sir. Legal reviewed it. If you approve, we can push it to all division heads immediately. I scanned the document. 50 pages of organizational charts, compensation structures, reporting hierarchies. Billions of dollars in operational changes. Thousands of jobs affected. This maintains all current executive positions? I asked. Sir. It redistributes the reporting structure to eliminate redundancies without eliminating headcount. Everyone keeps their role, their salary, and their teams. And the cost savings? We're projecting $800 million annually through operational efficiency rather than layoffs. I looked at the numbers again. It worked. Barely, but it worked. Do it, I said. Send it out. Yes, sir. Patricia's fingers flew across her keyboard. From the dining room, I bet he's dealing with some printer jam emergency. More laughter. The screen split into multiple windows. 50 faces appeared, every executive from our European division. Patricia had gotten them all on the call. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, my voice calm and clear, thank you for your patience during this stressful situation. I'm aware that preliminary restructuring information was leaked before proper approval channels were followed. That was my failure and I apologize. Apologies don't save our positions, a woman in the Paris office said sharply. You're right. Which is why I'm not asking you to accept an apology. I'm asking you to review the final plan which I'm authorizing right now. I nodded to Patricia. She hit send. 50 executives pulled up the document on their screens. I watched their faces as they read. Confusion first. Then surprise. Then relief. This maintains all our positions, the Berlin division head said slowly. And our teams. It does, I confirmed. The original leaked plan was a worst-case scenario we were trying to avoid. This is the actual plan. No layoffs. No demotions. Restructured reporting for efficiency, but everyone keeps their role. The Tokyo executive leaned forward. You're certain this is financially viable? Our CFO reviewed it personally. The savings come from operational efficiency and technology integration, not headcount reduction. When does this take effect? I'm authorizing it now. Effective immediately. I signed the document on screen, my digital signature appearing on the tablet. Patricia countersigned as executive assistant, confirming my authorization. The mood on the screen shifted. 50 tense faces relaxed. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, I built this company on the principle that our people are our greatest asset. I'm not going to destroy that by gutting the teams that make us successful. You have my word. This restructuring protects your positions and your people. Thank you, Mr. Chin, the Paris executive said, and others echoed her. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm supposed to be enjoying Christmas dinner. Patricia will handle any immediate questions, but I want all of you to take the rest of the week off. Spend time with your families. You've earned it. They disconnected. The screen went dark. Richard Westfield reappeared alone now. Daniel, that was masterful. Crisis averted. For now, I said. We need to identify who leaked those preliminary plans. Already on it. But right now you just saved the company $2 billion in annual revenue. The board is very pleased. Good. Now if you'll excuse me, Richard, I have turkey getting cold. Enjoy your dinner, Mr. Chin. The screen went dark. I turned to Patricia and her team. Thank you for moving so quickly. Make sure everyone on the European division gets a follow-up email from me personally tomorrow morning, and schedule individual calls with each executive for next week. Yes, sir. And Patricia? Discretion about the location of this meeting. She smiled slightly. What meeting, sir? The records will show you were at the office. Perfect. You can pack up now. They worked quickly, breaking down the equipment and carrying it out. Within 5 minutes, the living room looked untouched. Patricia was the last to leave. Merry Christmas, Mr. Chin, she said at the door. Merry Christmas, Patricia. And thank you. She nodded and left. I returned to the dining room. They were on dessert now, Mom's famous apple pie. That took forever, Marcus said. What was it, some filing emergency? Something like that, I said, sitting down. See, this is what I'm talking about, Marcus said to the table. No boundaries. They call him on Christmas and he jumps. That's what happens when you don't have authority. When you're actually in charge, people wait for you. Must be nice to be important, Rebecca added, cutting her pie. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it. A text from Richard Westfield. Board meeting tomorrow at 8 a.m. We want to discuss your compensation package after tonight's performance. Time to talk about that raise. I put my phone away. You know what I don't get, Jennifer said, is why you never tried for something better, Daniel. Did you just not have the drive? Or were you scared of failing? Jennifer, Dad said, but again his tone was gentle, not reproachful. I'm just curious, Jennifer continued, because it seems like you just settled. Like you decided early on that you weren't going to achieve anything, so why try? Some people peak in high school, Marcus said, shrugging. Daniel was never going to be a leader. We all knew it. Mom patted my hand again. There's nothing wrong with being ordinary, sweetie. Not everyone can be special. The doorbell rang again. Tao what? Marcus said, annoyed. I didn't move. I already knew who it was. Dad got up and opened the door. I heard his confused voice. Can I help you? Good evening, sir. I'm Michael Richardson, Board Secretary for TechVantage Global. I'm here to see Mr. Daniel Chen. Marcus's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. Michael entered the dining room carrying a leather folder. He was 70 years old, silver-haired, and had been with the company for 30 years. He wore a three-piece suit and had the bearing of someone who'd spent decades in boardrooms. Mr. Chen, he said, nodding to me. I apologize for the interruption, but the board wanted me to deliver these documents personally. He opened the folder. The emergency session minutes from tonight's meeting, requiring your signature as Chief Executive Officer. Also, the board's formal commendation for your handling of the crisis, and the revised compensation package they'd like you to review. The room went silent. Marcus's face had gone white. Chief Executive Officer? Michael glanced at him, then back to me. Yes. Mr. Chen has been CEO of TechVantage Global for 3 years now. I thought the family knew. They didn't, I said quietly. Michael's expression didn't change, but I saw understanding flicker in his eyes. I see. Well, regardless, these require your immediate signature, sir. The board is finalizing the crisis response, and they need your authorization to move forward with the communications plan. He laid the documents on the table. Right on top of Mom's good tablecloth next to the pie plates. I scanned them quickly. Standard board minutes, commendation letter, compensation package showing my current salary, $4.2 million annually plus stock options and bonuses. I signed each one. Thank you, Mr. Chen, Michael said, gathering the documents. The board asked me to express their gratitude for your leadership tonight. Saving the European division was extraordinary work. Just doing my job, Michael. Sir. Enjoy your evening. He nodded to the table. Merry Christmas, everyone. He left. No one moved. No one spoke. Marcus's mouth was opening and closing like a fish. Rebecca finally said, her voice strangled. You're a CEO? TechVantage Global, Jennifer whispered, pulling out her phone. Her fingers trembled as she typed. That's the company that just acquired Hex Corp. The $15 billion deal. It was all over the news. That was us, I confirmed. You run Marcus's voice cracked, a multi-billion-dollar company? $23 billion in annual revenue, actually. This year's projections are looking strong. Mom's face had gone pale. But you said you worked in corporate operations. I do. I operate the corporation. The answering phones, Rebecca said weakly. The office job. I do answer phones sometimes. When my executive assistant is busy. I took a bite of pie. This is delicious, Mom. Dad was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. 3 years. You've been CEO for 3 years. 4 in March. But you never said anything, Mom whispered. You never asked, I said simply. You all assumed I was an assistant and I didn't correct you. Marcus's face had gone from white to red. You let us think we've been mocking me? Yes. Oh my God, Jennifer breathed, still staring at her phone. You're on the Forbes list. 50 under 50, tech leaders reshaping the industry. Your photo is right here. She turned the phone around. There I was in a sharp suit standing in front of our headquarters building. The caption read, Daniel Chen, CEO of TechVantage Global, continues to drive unprecedented growth through innovative leadership and strategic vision. Rebecca grabbed the phone. This article says you turned down a buyout offer of $35 billion last year because you thought the company was worth more. It was, I said. We're currently valued at $42 billion. The Singapore deal, Marcus said hoarsely. The one I was bragging about. $12 million. 14, I corrected gently. I remember. I closed 14 million. You turned down 35 billion. Different scales, I said. But congratulations on your deal. 14 million is nothing to dismiss. The word, dismiss, hung in the air. Daniel, Dad said slowly, why didn't you tell us? Would it have mattered? I asked. Would you have treated me differently if you knew? Silence. That's what I thought, I said. You all assumed I was a failure because I didn't brag about my job. Because I showed up to family dinners in normal clothes and drove a regular car and didn't wave my success in your faces like a flag. We didn't assume you were a failure, Mom started. You called me ordinary. You said I wasn't special. You told me I'd peaked in high school and that I wasn't cut out for leadership. I kept my voice calm. Those were your words, Marcus. Tonight. At this table. Marcus couldn't meet my eyes. The truth is, I continued, I built TechVantage from the ground up. I took it public 5 years ago. I've overseen its growth from 50 employees to over 12,000. I've closed deals on 4 continents. Tonight I saved $2 billion in annual revenue by making a single decision. I paused. And I came here for Christmas dinner because you're my family and I hoped maybe just once, you'd care about me as a person rather than as a status symbol. We do care, Rebecca said weakly. Do you? Or do you care now that you know I'm successful? I stood up. Thank you for dinner, Mom. The turkey was perfect. Daniel, wait, Dad said standing. I have a board meeting tomorrow morning at 8. I should get some rest. Please, Mom said, tears in her eyes. We didn't know. That's the point, Mom. You didn't know and you didn't care to find out. You just assumed the worst and treated me accordingly. I walked toward the door. Behind me I heard Rebecca crying. Marcus was silent. Daniel, Mom called after me. When can we see you again? I turned back. They were all standing now, looking at me with expressions I'd never seen before. Respect, fear, regret. I don't know, I said honestly. I need to think about whether this is the kind of relationship I want to keep having. But we're family, Dad said. Family supports each other. Family doesn't mock each other for sport. I opened the door. When you figure out the difference, let me know. I walked out into the cold December air. My car, a modest Honda because I'd never seen the point in flashy vehicles, was parked behind 3 luxury SUVs. Patricia had left my briefcase on the hood with a note, just in case you need it for tomorrow's meeting. I smiled, got in my car and drove away. My phone rang as I pulled onto the highway. Marcus. I let it go to voicemail. Then Rebecca called. Then Mom. Then Dad. I silenced my phone and drove home to my apartment, a penthouse downtown that I'd bought under an LLC so the family wouldn't find out, and poured myself a glass of whiskey. My phone lit up with a text from Richard Westfield. The board wants to offer you a 10% raise and additional stock options. You saved us tonight. Name your price. I typed back. We'll discuss tomorrow. Right now I need to decompress. Understood. But Daniel, whatever you decide, you earned it. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Richard. I stood at my window looking out over the city. Somewhere out there, my family was probably still sitting at that dinner table, processing everything that had happened. Marcus was probably Googling my net worth. Rebecca was probably reading every article about me she could find. Mom and Dad were probably wondering how they'd missed the signs for 3 years. But I wasn't thinking about them. I was thinking about tomorrow's board meeting. The Q1 projections that needed review. The Tokyo office expansion that required final approval. The 1,000 details of running a multi-billion-dollar company that filled my days and gave me purpose. And I was thinking about Patricia, Michael, Richard, and the 12,000 employees who trusted me to lead them. Who never questioned my authority. Who saw me as the CEO I actually was, not the failure my family assumed I'd become. My phone buzzed one more time. A text from Marcus. I'm so sorry. Please call me. We need to talk. I put the phone down and didn't respond. Maybe someday we would talk. Maybe someday I'd forgive them. But tonight on Christmas I was just going to enjoy the silence and the knowledge that I'd proven once and for all that their assumptions about me had been wrong from the start. I was Daniel Chin, CEO of TechVantage Global, and I'd built my empire quietly while they'd laughed. Now they knew the truth and they'd have to live with it. I took another sip of whiskey and smiled. The view from the top was pretty good after all.